Joining us now is Republican Governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem. Governor, great to have you on the show. Wall Street Journal's reporting today that you're being considered for Interior Secretary in a Trump administration. Is that true?
Well, the only person who will make that decision is President Trump. I love being governor of South Dakota, and President Trump knows I'll help him however I can.
Yeah, you were very helpful to him out on the campaign trail, out with him quite a bit as a surrogate and as a supporter. You said after Trump's victory that Democrats tried to put women in a box. When it came time to vote, Trump improved his standing among women by 5%. You were out there on the trail. What were you hearing from women?
You know, I went out over a year ago and started visiting some of these swing states, talking to women that were not just Republicans, but independents and Democrats, finding out what their thoughts were and what was important to them. And overwhelmingly, yes, they cared about issues about their health care and decisions, but they also cared about paying their bills. They cared about the economy. Their communities oftentimes were much more dangerous under the Harris policies. They had crime and coming in and threatening their safety, and they were very concerned about the invasion that we saw at the southern border. So I think what we learned through all of this and knew and how President Trump talked to them was that women aren't just one-issue voters. They care about everything, and they care about the future of this country, and that's how they voted. To see him gain more support from women, I think, was wonderful to see, because the way that he was relating to them, and especially the last several months of this campaign, was as every American and unifying people on the issues that they truly did care about.
You know, it's not just women. Trump outperformed with young people, and he won a big chunk of the vote. He didn't win in some of the blue states and cities, but he overperformed there. What do you think that says, and what kind of mandate do you think that gives him?
Well, I think there was such a contrast between these two candidates. If you watched Vice President Harris out there, she was oftentimes dividing people, making personal attacks, not talking specifically about what she would do. Not talking specifically about what she would do. It was hard to know what she stood for. She wanted to separate herself from President Biden, but then yet said she couldn't think of anything she'd do differently. That's confusing to people, no matter what age you are, no matter what your cultural background is, your heritage, or if you're a man or a woman. They want to know what you're going to do when you're given the opportunity to serve as the president of the United States. And President Trump has 4 years of experience that he's already shown the American people, and they trust him to go right into office and to do exactly what he campaigned on.
All right, you are a current sitting governor, so you know all the other governors. You guys all have an organization. You do a lot together. You work together on a lot of issues. Democratic governors of several states are already warning President-elect Trump not to go too far. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker said, "You come from my people, you come through me." California Governor Gavin Newsom has called a special session to, quote, safeguard California values and fundamental rights in the face of a Trump administration. Some Democratic governors say they won't even adhere to Trump's plans for mass deportations. How much power do these Democratic governors actually have to say no?
You know, I think they're being extremely irresponsible. If I had a new president in the White House, and even if he wasn't from my political party, the first thing I would do would be call him up and see if I could get a meeting, talk about what's important to the citizens in my state, and see how we could work together to do that. I've had the chance to serve as governor of our state under President Trump and then also under Joe Biden, and I did exactly that and went to Joe Biden's inauguration and tried to build a relationship with his White House so we could work together. And then when we disagreed, I disagreed, and I fought against things that I didn't think were right. But for them to do that this quickly after the election shows just non-mature. It's not a mature response, and it's a little silly to come out of the gate like this. They do much better picking up the phone and having a conversation on what they can do and what they see as the future of their states.
Yeah, I think that was like 2 days after the election that these statements and news conferences were happening. Trump vowed during the campaign that he would begin these mass deportations on day one. We are now hearing from even ICE, for example, that it would cost taxpayers about $11,000 per migrant to detain, arrest, detain, and deport them. This is a huge undertaking and a huge expense.
It is going to be a big operation. And President Trump has already indicated that he wants to start by making sure that we're deporting the most dangerous first. Those criminals, murderers, rapists that are threatening safety in our communities, they're going to be the first ones on the list to go. And from there, yes, it's a commitment, but it's a commitment for our national security interests. And we need to have a secure border, know who is here, and then recognize that many of these dangerous individuals and people who aren't here to make America better are on programs, and they're spending taxpayer dollars in many of these states to clothe them and to house them and take care of them and their families, when the responsibility shouldn't be on the American taxpayer or the people that live here. It should be on their countries where they came from. When they came into our country, let's all remember the first thing they did was break the law. They came here illegally, and by Vice President Harris allowing that to happen when she's in charge of the border, she was breaking federal law as well. And the American taxpayers and the American citizens just held her accountable. They said, no, we don't trust you with our country anymore. They put their faith in President Trump, and now it's his job to make our country safe.
Many of the people in that first category you mentioned, convicted criminals, people who've been found adjudicated to be guilty of crimes already and are in prisons currently, being imprisoned at taxpayer expense. Do these people serve out their sentences in prisons inside the United States and then get deported, or would we take them out of the prison and deport them now?
There's some of them in prison, but they're only in prison in America today if they've broken a law and if someone has picked them up while they were breaking those laws. And even, Elizabeth, you know that in many of our larger cities that are Democratic led, or states that are democratically led by some of these governors, they're turning them loose again. They may be criminals in other countries, but they bring them into court and then they release them on bond or bail or nothing at all and not held accountable. So once they're interacting with us, we will make sure that they're deported immediately. They do not belong here, and we won't let them back in.
We just heard in response to the news that Special Counsel Jack Smith has suspended all of his investigations into President-elect Trump. We just heard the spokesperson for the President-elect say it's time to end the warfare. Does that mean ending the warfare for President-elect Trump as well? In other words, when he was out on the campaign trail, sometimes with you, he did talk about the fact that about the enemy within and referred to many elected Democrats as being the enemy within. Do you expect that lawfare to continue under a Trump administration, or will, in fact, according to the Trump statement today, will this stop once and for all now? Because we know a lot of voters clearly don't like it.
You know, I was grateful to see the announcement from the Department of Justice, and President Trump has spoken to me about this many times. What he wants is for people to trust our three-letter agencies again. He wants us to be able to trust our Department of Justice and know that the right thing is going to be done, that the scales of justice are important. People have to know that they won't be persecuted, that they won't be targeted, that people are held accountable when the law is broken. And that's really what he wants to see put back into place and build that faith with the American people again. So this is a good first step to restoring that. He has said many times that our best story is going to be told through our success. That means from our economy. It means from strengthening our standing on the world stage when it comes to national security. But it also means trusting those who are here to uphold the law and to make sure people are held accountable when they break it. He wants to bring some integrity back to those organizations. And that's exactly what he'll do by picking the right leaders to be in charge of it and do exactly what the American people want.
So to be clear, you do not expect him to pursue any sorts of political persecutions?
I do not. I do not expect him to do that at all. And that's not any indication that he would do. If there is any persecutions, or not persecutions, I guess prosecutions maybe, for it would be because there has been a law broken, something that has happened that is not acceptable under our state and our federal government, and bring that kind of justice back into the system.
Finally, just super quick, what do you make of Elon Musk being on a call with Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, today?
Well, what I know from President Trump and his phone calls is he's very matter of fact. And I know that Elon has provided a lot of technology to Ukraine. I think they're probably going to have several phone calls and just see what they can do to end this war as quickly as possible and make sure that everybody understands that perpetuating this into the future is not going to be acceptable for President Trump.
Governor Kristi Noem of the beautiful state of South Dakota, thanks so much. Keep us posted on that interior cabinet possibility.
We will.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Coming
you.
up for us.